Hello, my mossy friends! My name is Christine, aka Mossy Mothom, and welcome to my channel! Today's video is a little bit different than normal because we are celebrating my 100 subs. It's a really big milestone for me, and I just wanted to say thank you all so very much for whether you liked a video, watched it, shared it, whatever. Thank you just for being here. So for today's celebration, I will be making the mom's handmade cake item from Animal Crossing New Horizons, of course. We'll be making it in real life. So basically, I'm just making a strawberry cheesecake. Here are all of my items. We have graham crackers, tapioca flour instead of gelatin, sugar, powdered sugar, vanilla extract, butter, and of course cream cheese. What we're doing is we are putting our 2/3 of a cup of butter in a bowl to put them in the microwave to melt it a little bit. And I just set it for like a minute or so. And we did wind up transferring the butter into a bigger bowl because the yellow bowl we were using wasn't large enough. And we are using a food processor here just to have the base not like total powder, but mostly broken down. You can also do this by hand. We realized that we probably should have put in the graham crackers first and then the butter on top of it to have the graham crackers soak it up. And we think that for us, maybe using less graham crackers because the crust actually turned out a lot thicker than we expected, but that's okay. We also had to stick in a wooden spoon to try to make everything fit down to the bottom. But here's how it looked like after pulsing it on and off instead of a constant stream. And you can see we are, of course, putting some cooking spray on the bottom of our pan. And the recipe called for a 9-inch pan, and we didn't exactly, this was just the pan we had, but we think it might have been less than 9 inches because, again, the end result looked a little bit different than what we were hoping for, but it turned out delicious, don't worry. So we're just scraping off all of the residual graham cracker and butter to fit in the pan. Then we're taking like a glass cup to kind of squish everything down, not totally compact it, but just so it's not just kind of free floating to make the actual like crust bit. And of course, because we want to squeeze as much cake as possible in the pan. And here I'm showing off that my cat Emmett really likes to chew on plastic and decided to chew on. We literally had just gotten the groceries home with the tapioca powder, and he was just like, yeah, I'm gonna chew on this. So here we can see that we're mixing in our tapioca flour and water, which is gonna help strengthen and like the cake is gonna be able to be firmer. So of course you can decide not to use it at all, but I personally don't eat gelatin. Tapioca flour, also agar. Agar is another good replacement. Here I struggled to take out all of the cream cheese out of the packaging, plop it into the bowl, and of course showing off my little bit of messy hands. Now we are taking out some of the powdered sugar and mixing it into the cream cheese bowl. And here's our vanilla extract, which of course smells so nice. And heavy cream. Here we're getting our mixer. And it looks so much more chaotic than it was. We didn't really make a mess of it at all. But we wanted to have it start mixing and then slowly pour in the heavy cream to not get it overwhelming. To not have it so it's like overwhelmed. And already you can see that it's starting to whip up nicely. Now that it's whipped up, we are pouring in our tapioca flour and water mixture, and then mixing it up just a tiny bit more to make sure it's spread throughout. Here we are going around the outside of our base and just lining up some of the strawberries before we pour in our cheesecake mixture. So once we pour it in, it's gonna go like over top and inside of it. Ta-da! And surprisingly, this bowl was a lot heavier than I expected, filled with everything. So it was hard to, with one hand, scrape everything out as well as holding the bowl, but here we go. And like I said from before, we think that we had a smaller pan than was expected because there was supposed to be enough room in the pan for our topping layer, but that's okay. We improvised. Everything worked out. But we smoothed everything out. It looks super nice. Now we are again getting some more tapioca flour and mixing it in with the water because this will be for our strawberry topping. We're adding some sugar and of course strawberries. And this is just your regular sugar. This isn't the powdered sugar. And then we're adding in the tapioca flour and water mixture and then blending it. We want to make a nice puree, so very finely blended. You don't really want to see any chunks. For us, we didn't care about seeds, but of course if you want to add the extra step of putting it through like a small hold strainer to get those out, that's fine. And now we are going to heat it up on top of the stove. You want to be mixing it pretty much the entire time. You can see my phone, I was just making sure we were following the recipe correctly. So you want to stir it for a good, or keep it heated for a good 5 minutes, and you'll definitely see a color change. The color is going to get more color, or the color is going to get a lot darker, and you're going to see it's going to like condense. So this is what it looks like afterwards, and we made a nice heart out of the strawberries because we wanted to incorporate the strawberries more, as well as for when we pour in the puree, it's not going to spill out over the sides. And this was our this was how we improvised, because what you really are wanting is to have a fine, thin layer on the top spread throughout, but again, we were worried because it might have like dripped over the sides of it. And my cat, Leroy, came up and was trying to inspect what was going on. He approves. And now we're gonna put it in the fridge to cool overnight. In actuality, we didn't leave it in the grill overnight. We made space in the fridge, but so don't worry about that. We didn't want any added smoky mixture. And Marley, our dog, makes an appearance as well. So here we are the next day after we let the cake cool. And look at that side profile. Give it a good spin. See how I'm saying the graham cracker crust is a little bit too thick? It tasted beautiful and fine, but I think if the pan was like 1 inch bigger or something, it would have spread out better. So it doesn't look exactly like the photo from Mom's handmade cake, but again, this was handmade from scratch pretty much. So it's gonna look a little bit different than expected. And Marley was very curious about what was going on. What a good girl. Look at that big slice of cake. You gotta make sure you don't miss any bit. So here we got a little top end. And my water bottle makes an appearance. And here we are. I put a nice little birthday candle for our 100th subscriber celebration. And of course, all good chefs have to give a taste. And it was so yummy. I'm so glad we made this. The rest of the family really loved it as well. So again, I just want to say thank you all so very much for being here. I started this channel back in September of 2020 just as a way to have a creative outlet during quarantine and, you know, share my love of Animal Crossing with other people. I still am not expecting anything to ever happen. I was just like, this is gonna be fun, and it's just really, it's crazy to think that there are people out there who actually want to watch my content. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And here's to the next 100 subscribers. And, well, man, my mind is blown. It's 2021 now, and it hasn't been that long. We've already reached this far. So thank you. And on that note, I will see you all in the next video. Bye!